as you could tell, ladies and gentlemen, the audio's all messed up. Yeah, you love it because it's live. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Avery, but I go by Soavecito, and I'm a horror content creator. While I work on this in the background, this is episode 52 of Whispers of Horror. Our special guest, Jared from Avalanche Reviews. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome, awesome. I just wanted to start off and ask, like, how did you come up with Avalanche Reviews?
Um, I really love Final Fantasy VII, and
Awesome.
the Resistance team, the paramilitary sort of eco terror squad from that game was Avalanche,
Mm,
and at the time, reviews it was really common to have the word if you reviewed games or movies or whatever, it was in your YouTube title. So I put two and two together, and it was available.
awesome, awesome. We got an awesome comment, by the way, that from 4 a.m. Laundry that says, I was looking for a live stream that is talking about horror and stuff with a bald dude that lives in Japan. Could you point me in the right direction? I'm just gonna.
Word. 4 a.m. Laundry shout out. Really cool streamer, content creator here in Tokyo. Super nice guy.
Hey, shout out to 4 a.m. That's that comment makes me fun laugh. But when it comes to what made you decide to be a content creator, like what got you into making stuff like this, and what year did you start?
um, it was about fif- 15 years ago or something like that. I forget the exact date that I started my channel, but it was round about the same time that I uploaded my first video. And it was sort of like a snap decision. There's a weird story to it. So,
We
a
got time.
buddy of mine yeah, he was starting a website called Thrash Metal Gamer, and me and him were
Okay.
like mega into video games and heavy metal. So we're like, let's put them together, let's make a website. And this was before the internet had sort of collectivized into like six websites, and that's all that existed.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, hey, do you want to contribute as like a writer, a column guy? And I was like, hell yes. So I ended up writing like an article, which was a review of Silent Hill 3, which is like one of the. It was a horror game that was very like special to me. It meant a lot to me. So it was kind of that's the game I had to start with for sure.
Okay.
And when that website fell through and it was no longer a thing, I yeah, this entire time I've been watching YouTube content, and I started off with like the angry video game nerd,
Mm-hmm.
and his video on how he made his videos, how he edited them and filmed them, and how he archived his footage and stuff. It was interesting because then I'm like a very visual guy. I need to see how things work. I
Sure.
need to have it somewhat in my peripheral before I can do it. And when I saw him showing the the scenes stuff, I was like, oh, I could do that, no problem. So one day, me and my wife and my landlord at the time went to a heavy metal show in Tampa. And on the way back, my wife was asleep in the back seat, and I'm driving, and my landlord was like, "Oh, what have you been up to?" And I was like, "I think I'm gonna start a YouTube channel." And it was that night was when I decided to do it, just because I had said it out loud, and
Yeah.
from there it went.
That's awesome. If you could go back in time to that first moment when you're like, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. What is the best advice that you would give yourself to succeed being a YouTube content creator?
Stop doing that voice. I used to think that part of like reading my scripts was like projecting my voice very uh, far and trying to speak as fast as I could.
Okay.
And if you go back and watch my old videos, you can tell I'm reading a script, and it's like I'm trying to power through it. So I'm like, Silent Hill 3 is a survival horror video game that's released by Konami, and blah blah blah. I was going crazy fast, and I
Mm-hmm.
sounded weird because that's not my natural speaking voice.
Yeah.
So if I could go back, I would say try to talk more naturally into your microphone, probably.
What is some of the creative? What is your creative process when you are making your gaming essays or your retrospectives for the horror games that you do?
Um,
I'm
to
gonna
be
take
honest,
notes by the way because like I'm trying
hey,
to do a
go
video
ahead.
of
Yeah.
28 years later, and I told you like I struggle. I am struggling because
Mm,
like I have a bad. I want to. I, I stutter with my words, and it's hard for me to
mm,
like read. I could read stuff pretty well, but getting the
right.
words to correlate with that is where I struggle. And then I feel like I
Yeah.
get so many thoughts. So how do you quiet all the noise? How do you focus? Like I'm serious. I'm literally gonna here's my pad. Like I'm
Mm.
literally gonna write this down. So,
I think,
any advice?
really and truly, the
Yeah.
big, the backbone of the entire project is always the script.
Okay.
And I mean, which seems obvious, but for me, while I'm playing the game and capturing my footage, I will take notes, and I might have like a page of notes that turns
Sure.
into 18 pages of script or something like that. So I'm not very meticulous, but I tend to try to think really deeply about the game that I'm playing, because it's like really easy to say I enjoy this video game because it allows me to do X by verbally why you like X, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to, as I'm playing the video game, make mental notes of, okay, well, here at this point, it does this. Why do I feel that way? And sometimes that requires me to put the controller down and think for a second and, kind of take myself out of the process of playing it and try to figure out, okay, what did that just do to me and why did it do it?
Okay.
So when I have those moments, I tend to take those notes. I focus really heavily on video output, like graphics processing, all of the processes that it takes to end up with the image that you get on your screen, and I'm really interested in that. So if I'm playing and I notice that I don't know, like for example, on a PS2 game, it has 480i menus and 480p gameplay or something. That would be a note that I would take because I'm very
Sure.
interested in that. But then similarly, if the story takes a certain turn and I have a prediction, maybe I'll write down the prediction, or I will write down how I feel about where the story's going right now. And later on, when I get to the end of the game, I can kind of compare those ideas,
Okay.
and you sort of have a record of your feelings on the media as you're going. And when you go to write a script, it makes for a really good writing process if you can walk the listener or the viewer through your thought process. So if an hour into the game I think it's heading in one direction, I will mention that in my script,
Okay.
and then I will sort of like walk the viewer through where it ended up and why I thought it wasn't going that way and how I feel about the way that it went.
Mm-hmm.
So big on writing a script. I enjoy writing, and I think for the most part, it all comes to me as I'm typing it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have certain ideas like I recently covered Post Trauma, an indie survival horror game. It was really good, and as I'm playing it, um, I'm enjoying the story, but it's very sort of up to interpretation, and it requires a lot of like digging in deep and investigating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking little micro notes as I'm playing along, and then the script ended up twice as long as I planned on it because I started getting really into the idea of figuring out who each character was, because the story's very open and it doesn't say
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff out loud. So I'm like, okay, yeah, back in the first hour of gameplay, the main character coughed. And then later on, there's like a revelation. It's like, okay, well, here's some evidence for why I feel this way. But it all just comes to me as I'm writing it in the moment. And for me personally, that is when all the magic happens. I'm writing the script out, and as I'm saying, here at hour two, blank happens. I sort of already have an idea of how I feel about that because I played through the game.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to. It's so hard to. It's like there's thoughts that are coming out of me, and I'm sort of directing them in a specific direction. And as it changes direction, I just kind of go with it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm feeling funny right now. I'm gonna make a joke about how this guy looks, or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I sort of let the script sort of write itself. I
Okay.
just kind of, you open the brain up and let it go in whatever direction it's going. And I can usually get a good 15-page script done in like 3 or 4 days with that process.
That's pretty awesome. I literally, you answered my next question, how long is script? But I just gotta say, you have a beautiful voice, and the way you
Thank you.
speak is just like so articulate, and hence why I'm a big listen to you. Like when I'm driving, when I'm eating, when I'm just. So I'm meta
Mm,
glasses, so I literally listen to some of your retrospectives because the way you go in depth with whatever game you're talking about is just it shows that you put in time and effort into it. So I just want to thank you for doing that because I know it's not easy,
hell yeah.
and I'm sure like you
Yeah,
go
it
through
can be
some
hard.
trial and tribulations to do that. But thank you
Mm,
for helping me get through some long time, some work days.
yeah, dude.
And there's just that space where I need something to calm my head, and which is not strange because I love horror, but when I tell somebody, yeah, I to calm down, I listen to horror pocket horror stories
Yeah.
about games
Right,
I
right.
love. Like, but yeah, no, I think it's pretty awesome that you do this. What is the
Thank you.
first retrospective game that you did? And if you could go back, would you do a different game on it? And then what made you do horror?
Um, it's an interesting story. So this is another one that has a backstory to it.
I feel like you're full of stories, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah, I got a
I
lot of
could.
them,
I
dude.
need a bag. I need a popcorn to eat. And I can't even eat popcorn,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
would totally eat popcorn during this conversation because
Hell yeah.
what I'm listening, it's like angelic. What's going through my? I'm not fanboying, I promise, but it's just so peaceful. Like I don't. Whatever
Hell yeah,
happened
dude.
today doesn't matter because like I'm having a great conversation with Jared from in a different country, and
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
just talking about horror. What else can I ask for right now?
No, exactly. But yeah, this is it gives I like doing this stuff. It gives me an
Yeah.
opportunity to tell these stories, which is
Yeah.
it's valuable is just as valuable to me as it is for the listener or, the person asking the questions. But I was living in South Florida, and
Hmm.
I had at the time I'd had my channel for a pretty good amount of time, and I kind of covered, wherever my brain was taking me. I started with Silent Hill 3, but then I talked about, I think the second video that I made was Max Payne 2, which is another just in my heart, means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Just that game, if you cut me, I bleed Max Payne 2.
Okay.
So for the longest time, I was just covering games that meant a lot to me. And there was no theme. I really hadn't nailed down a structure yet. I was just kind of playing around, and I believe I had gotten somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8,000 subscribers. And when I got to that point, I let me think of what the first one was. I believe it was Parasite Eve. No, it was Resident Evil. Okay. So I, I was thinking I love Resident Evil. I always have. I'm like covered in Resident Evil tattoos, so like I feel like okay, I definitely need to talk about Resident Evil at this point.
Sure.
So it just so happened a hurricane hit South Florida, and where I was, my house was fine, the neighborhood was great. We could go to the convenience store, things were great. But there was no internet for
Mm.
like a week, and I had nothing to do. And at the time, I was a bouncer and a cook, and neither of those jobs were, nobody had power, so I couldn't do
Wait,
them.
were you a bouncer and
So I'm
cook
at
at the
the
same
house.
time? Because that would be so
Yeah.
like, hold on, you can't come in. Let me.
On the weekday, I was the cook, and then on
Okay,
Fridays and Saturdays, I would clock out, go home, take a shower, come back as the bouncer.
that's funny.
But yes, sometimes in the morning, because it's South Florida, people come in off the beach or whatever, and they're
Yeah.
hammered, and you have to do both jobs at
Hey,
once.
listen, you got to do what you got to do. That's awesome though.
Yeah,
I
no,
can
it was
totally see
fun. I
you doing
loved it.
both though.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. It taught me how to cook, and it taught me a lot about reading people and recognizing patterns of behavior and stuff. It was a really cool, interesting experience.
Did
But yeah, I couldn't do those.
you? Hmm.
And I had this channel, and I was like, well, I have all this time. And I had sort of started to develop a bit of a formula for how I wanted my videos to go. So I was like, well, I have nothing to do. I have electricity at my house. I have this capture device. I at the time had a FrameMeister, which was an upscaler. And I was like, what, man, let's just play through the Resident Evil series, and I'll take this like gift that I've been given a free time. I'll just play through all the numbered Resident Evil games, and I will make videos on them. Write the script, everything that I can do without the internet. So I played through the first 4 Resident Evil games before I got the internet back and everything. And I started making videos of them. And I was like, let's call it the Resident Evil retrospective. So I put together a little intro, typewriter sound effect, like from Resident Evil 1 when you save. I had little titles and stuff. It was a really fun time. It's super fun creative process. And in between Resident Evils 2 and 3, I had made a video on Resident Evil 1.5. And that was right around the same time that Resident Evil 2 Remake got its second wind of popularity, because the first thing where he opens up his jacket and it says "We do it," Resident Evil 2. Everybody was stoked. We didn't hear anything for like a year. Maybe even longer. Yeah. Finally, we hear some stuff. Trailers are coming out, and the buzz is they're going to include Resident Evil 1.5 content. I had just released a video, completely oblivious to all of this stuff, on Resident Evil 1.5. Gained traction. It gained mega traction, and I was already covering the Resident Evil series, so it felt really good, because a lot of time a YouTuber will gain traction with a video they didn't expect to hit, and now that's their entire brand, and they're like, well, now I'm locked in, basically. I have to keep making that content. It's like, I was doing this anyways, so this is great. So the first thing was the Resident Evil retrospective, and that's what launched everything. I went from 10,000 subscribers to 30,000 subscribers, I think, over the course of like 2 days. And me and my wife we were looking at my monitor aghast, jaw on the floor. I couldn't believe it. So when Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, I thought, okay, this is like a special thing, because this is sort of what launched the channel. I'll do a live stream. I'd never live streamed before. So I did a live stream, and I thought like 20 people would show up, and like hundreds of people were there. Wow. And it was incredible. And I believe from that point to announcing Resident Evil 2 Remake to me playing it is when my channel really got its boost. Sure. And to answer your second question, I don't think I would change that, because I still love Resident Evil, so I would have covered it at some point anyways. Yeah. It's really nice to have that guilt-free success, as opposed to like,
sure.
I had to put myself into a mold.
Right moment, right time.
You're very lucky in that sense.
Yeah. If you had to pick out of all the Resident Evils, which one is your favorite and why?
I get asked that question a lot, and I
know I'm
always
going to add
give
to the masses.
No, I always give the most cop-out answer, because that answer changes from day to day. Okay. Tomorrow I might wake up and it's a totally different answer.
Okay,
I can tell you like the top 3 is Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Code Veronica, and probably Resident Evil 1 Remake right now. Those are the ones that I love.
So Resident Evil 2... Code Veronica, and what was the last one?
RE1 Remake.
RE1, okay. That is an interesting. I'm surprised. I would have guessed like RE7, because I thought that saved the franchise, because it was going down a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, for sure. And the weird thing is I grew up on classic survival horror PS1 era Resident Evil. Yeah. And when RE7 came out, the jump to first person, and keep in mind, I'd already sort of, everybody loves Resident Evil 4, and for good reason. It's a really good game. And Resident Evil 5, and even RE6, everybody hates it, but it is, it's kind of fun, and it's stupid, which, it's stupid. It's a Fast and Furious movie. You get your popcorn, you have fun.
It's like a Transformers, explosions, fire. You get to play all the main characters. Like, it's
right.
As bad as it is, it's still good.
Yeah, they all have value, and I enjoy all of them, really and truly. So I talk a lot of shit, but I do enjoy all of them. But as a fan of that classic survival horror style, having those games come out back to back to back, it was like just blow after blow after blow to me, because none of them were classic survival horror. So by the time 7 came out, the change to first person, it was just such a radical difference.
Mm-hmm.
I never touched it until I started up the Resident Evil retrospective and got
Gotcha.
to it in part of the video series. Um, so for years and years, I never touched RE7, and I kind of hated the idea of it, despite never playing it, never watching a review of it,
Sure.
just because I wasn't interested. Uh, and then I played it, and I loved it. It's really, really good. But I think in terms of like when I play Resident Evil games, it's like a
Mm-hmm.
comfy old sweater I like to put on. I know exactly what's going to happen. It's a process. I know when I'm going to do what, and RE7 is not that game for me. You know,
Mm.
I want that familiar experience, and I'm not as familiar with RE7, so it doesn't necessarily rank up towards the top for me.
Gotcha, gotcha. Are you have you heard of the game Heartworm?
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very good. The demo is amazing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good friend of mine. Shout out to Vinny. I've known him for quite a while, but that is kind of in that old style PS1 tank
Yes.
controls. So
Mhm.
I'm very much looking forward to playing that game. But that when I heard that stuff, that's the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's incredible. Great soundtrack, amazing look to it. I
yeah,
mean, it's got everything as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. Um, when you are not making content, what are some of the things that you, Jared, like to do for like hobbies or like what are some of the things you like to do?
I stay relatively busy. I
Okay.
have a lot of stuff I get into. I spend most of my time making videos
Sure.
because I enjoy doing it so much. But when I'm not, and I actually leave my house on the rare occasion,
Touching grass is
um,
important.
yeah, exactly. I skateboard a lot, and that's
Okay.
super fun. And I live in Tokyo, so it's kind of easy to skate to the convenience store or down to the like, post office or whatever I'm doing for my daily thing. If I need to go to the doctor, skate there or something like that. So I skate a lot, and Tokyo does not have a lot of skate spots, which I would have assumed it would be like California and you could skate
Yeah.
everything, but you get kicked out of everywhere in Tokyo. So I end up
Really?
yeah, there's a place near Yokohama that has just a literal square of concrete, just a flat square of concrete that's underneath a bridge. And I go there to skate just to do flat ground stuff. But for the most part, if you are trying to skate a handrail or a stair set or something, you're going to get kicked out because it's so quiet and peaceful here that the sound of like you slapping your board onto the ground over and over again is going to
Yeah.
it's going to get attention.
I get that.
um, yeah, outside of that, I skateboard everywhere that I can. I lift weights. I go to the gym every day. Sometimes I'll take a day off uh, per week,
Hmm.
but I lift a lot. Right now I'm cutting, so I've been doing nothing but 2-a-day cardio sessions for like months. It's terrible, but it's fun too. You get a
I
chance
get
to
that.
kind of. I do it on a bike because my knees are really bad from skateboarding. So I get on the stationary bike. You put the
Hmm.
headphones in and you watch some long form YouTube content. Some of my favorites: Magellar, Grimbeard, Tango Mushi, Sean Johnson. Just stuff that probably I've seen a million times, but
Yeah.
you can just sort of turn your brain off and then you blink and an hour's gone by and you're set to go.
Yeah. No, I totally get
So
that.
I do that a lot lately, and I go to a lot of like local heavy metal and hardcore shows. That's
Okay.
like a bi-weekly thing for me, I think.
How does those shows compare to like America shows, like living from where you live? Are they the
Um,
same, different, and like how do they
yeah,
compare?
roundabout the same sort
Okay.
of. The stuff that I get into is a very niche sort of subgenre. So like hardcore is in America. Well, I'm from South Florida, so
Yeah.
my idea of hardcore is incredibly violent, like massively just grabbing someone and punching them in the side of the head, kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And I really enjoy that. Here in Tokyo, the scene is not quite as violent,
Sure.
but it's still very like high energy. Everybody's moving around. The music is great. The bands put on incredible performances, so I
Yeah.
can't complain necessarily. but it would be nice if more
Somebody gets
people got
punched
their
in the
heads
face.
cracked up. Yeah, just every once in a while.
Yeah. I would
But
totally go to
I
one of those metal concerts with you. I feel like it would be a lot of fun and a different experience.
it's fun, yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
It's the same thing as like when people go skydiving. They like that sort of sense of danger in a controlled atmosphere, and that's what a lot of those shows are. Is like, it's like getting into a fight, but not worrying about getting arrested or going to the hospital, or you
Gotcha.
know what I mean, getting stabbed in the street or something like that.
I can't believe you just compared skydiving to getting punched in the face, but I will.
Yeah,
I'll take
very similar to me because
I
I hate getting punched in the face, and I probably would never skydive. So
yeah, one you will walk away, but like maybe you have a black eye or anything. Another one that cord doesn't pull, you're not coming back. Like you're 6 feet under,
yeah,
but you know what? Hey, what to each his own. I respect
I
it.
would never.
I would
I
go to
couldn't do
those
it.
concerts with you, but I would not go skydiving. That's
I
all
feel
you
that.
on me that I can't do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, when it comes to like doing the stuff that you like outside of content creating and like spending time with your family and everything like that, how do you find like a good balance between doing that and making time for the people that matter in your life?
Sometimes you don't, which is not a good thing. But it depends on how invested you are in a project.
Sure.
It's very easy, depending on what stage you're in of the project too. I find it very hard for me to write for more than 4 or 5 hours at a time
Sure.
without taking a few hours to just decompress and do something else.
Hmm.
But if I'm editing a video, I can edit 12 hours straight without an. It's usual that I do that.
I
So
bet you're gonna have to teach me because I don't know how to edit, like any lick of editing.
it's hard to learn, but once you learn it, it's like when you learn shortcuts in a program
Sure.
on your computer, like keyboard shortcuts. Once you figure them out, you take away the layer of abstraction in between you and the computer, and you can just do whatever comes to your brain.
Yeah, it's like going from
So
console to PC. Like it's a
it's
whole
yeah.
new thing.
Once you've gotten over the learning curve, you no longer see the keyboard and the mouse as like an input thing, and you're just looking at the screen, and you know exactly how to make your character do. It's the same thing with editing. So it's a learning curve, but once you get past it, it's hard to stop editing. At least for me, because when you have your script, like I said, my scripts are the backbone of my videos.
Sure.
I will voice record those, and that's step two. You write the script. Step two, you record the voiceover. The voiceover is my video. That's exactly what my video is going to be. And once I have it on the timeline, and I mention at a certain point in the game, blank happens. Like the amateur move is to only show what you're talking about. The pro move is to show footage that sort of relates to what you're talking about in a funny way.
Mm.
Like you make a joke about something, and there's footage in the game that sort of enforces that joke, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I talk about my history and allude to things I can't say on the internet, and then the footage from the game is somebody getting thrown in a cop car. You know what I mean? Stuff
Yeah,
like
for
that.
sure.
Um, Little things like that, which will take you a while to scrub through all your footage to find. That's why you can spend 12 hours editing, and usually I can do like 10, 15 minutes a day in terms of progress I've made on my timeline.
Gotcha. So that's the voiceover and like the editing part. How do you record? Like, how do you get the gameplay? Do you do the gameplay first, or and
Yeah.
how do you? And then, so when you're editing, you just put certain parts of what you're talking about in that specific slot.
Yeah, so I have my process starts with playing the game,
Okay.
and I capture all of my footage, and I try to be mindful of things that I like or that I've noticed or that are noteworthy about the game, and I try to get footage very specifically of those things. So I will stop recording, hit record for a brand new clip, and it's just me looking at a 2D texture in the game so that when I
Okay.
speak about it in my script, I can include that. But for the most part, it's just long 25-minute clips of gameplay footage. I'll have a folder that might be, 800 gigs of gameplay. Usually I'll try to play through the game 1.5 times, because I find that on that second half playthrough, you
Mm.
know the game well enough and you already know what you want to talk about, that you can really get the good specific clips in. But once you've written your script and you start editing, you always have to leave time and room for having to start the game back up and get new footage, because you've said something in your video that you have zero footage of, or that you can't find anymore, or a cut scene that you accidentally didn't record, whatever the case may be. So recording the footage is an ongoing process throughout the entire video.
Oh wow. What are some of the like highlights or some adversities you faced during making videos during this process?
um, I would say most of the issues I have creating content come from myself, because the job is, you don't want to say easy, because you know I on average per video I spend somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 100 hours.
Mm. That's crazy.
So and it's crazy as hell, but it's hard for me to say that's hard, because I've also worked construction and sales and customer service and office jobs and stuff. And working at a 7-Eleven overnight, I probably feel like is comparable to being a YouTuber in a lot of ways in terms of like effort. But if you're a person who has ever worked creatively and you felt how it feels to pour your creativity into something for so long that you actually feel physically exhausted from doing it, yeah, you can probably understand that the job is kind of hard in that sense. But I think I cause all of my issues, because people, just like you did earlier, will tell me, it's like, oh, Jared, I really like your voice. So when I go to record my voiceover, I'm very harsh on how I maybe pronounce something or how something comes out of me. I'll take, a few different takes of the same sentence, because I don't want to end it on a high intonation and have it sound like a question, or
Yeah.
I want it to lead better into the next thing that I say. Also, mouth noises. I record with an SM7B, which sort of requires a bit of proximity. And if I haven't drank a lot of water that day, you get nothing but just like clicks and clacks, and your tongue bouncing off your teeth, and
Yeah, it's so
wild
smack.
sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, things you never knew were coming out of your mouth when you speak. When you
Yeah.
have a microphone this close to your mouth, forget about it. But yeah, recording my voiceover is the biggest, and it's because I tend to be a perfectionist, and
Okay.
it takes me, like, for a 15-page script, that's easy 6 days, easy.
Jesus. So when you have some of this adversity that you face, like you're putting 90 hours, 100 hours into like one video, do you face, like, do you ever have that time when you're like, I have, I'm questioning if I want to do this anymore, or like some low lights as far as just like you put 100 hours in a video and that video is just not producing like some of your other videos, and you got it like kind of hitting a slump. Like, you ever considered like calling it quits at any point?
No,
Okay.
but I have been so furious with the concept of doing this job that I wish I could call it quits. But realistically speaking, I absolutely love doing this,
Okay.
and I've never in my whole life had a career that paid me to have this much fun.
Yeah.
So like it can get so hard, and it can get so brutal, because about a year ago, maybe a little more, I worked on a video for Alan Wake 2, and I poured my heart into that video because it meant a lot to me. In that moment in time, something about Alan Wake 2, despite the fact that I wasn't necessarily over the moon and pleased with the way that it played, its story and my process of getting through it was like
Magical.
crazy personal for some reason.
Oh, okay.
And you know what I mean? Like it just like it hit me in all the right ways with its story. And while I was writing its script, I'm realizing all this stuff about myself. And it was just a really cool, very personal kind of like thing for me. So I ended up putting a lot of effort into that video. And at the time, I think it was my longest video made up of a single game and not a collection of, all my other videos put together. And I remember when it came out, it just did garbage numbers.
Yeah.
And there's a part of you that has to turn off the section of your brain that's like, okay, well, I got to pay my electricity and my rent this month or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just sort of have to create stuff, because when I first started doing this job, I sort of had a little heart to heart with myself. And I was like, listen, you can do this, but this cannot become like a job. You got to love doing it. And
Gotcha.
if I ever get to the point where I don't love doing, or that I start thinking I'm going to put it down, I probably will have already quit by that point, because this whole thing, this YouTube thing, it's a great way to pay my bills. Sometimes it's an awful way to pay my bills, but what it is at the end of the day is a creative outlet, and it has a very cool secondary effect of being able to pay my rent. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, it's a dream a lot of people strive for, like as a content creator, like my biggest mission is, since I've had a daughter, I want to have the capability to not miss the moments of her life that I'm missing on a day-to-day basis having it at 9 to 5. And
Right.
it means the absolute world to me, if I get that opportunity. So I'm grinding, anytime she's sleeping, anytime they're like 4 a.m. in the morning, I do what I gotta do, because I was able to have the moment. Shout out to Meta. I know that's crazy, but the Meta glasses gave me the opportunity to watch my daughter take her first. I'm getting choked up. Gave me the opportunity to record her first steps.
That's crazy.
Hands-free.
That's awesome.
And I, at that moment, realized like I love what I do, and I was like, I don't want to miss those moments. Like I don't see her for the longest time, and it's just like, this is what drives me every day, is the motivation I need. So if I can get that opportunity, like yourself, like I'm gonna take the bull by the horns and go for it. So, but it's inspiring, hearing all the hard work, the dedication, the blood, sweat, and tears that you and others who have made it, have put. And show it is possible. So it's like a renewed confidence that you guys are giving me. So I just want to say thank you on that aspect.
Hell yeah, dude. No, that's good to hear. And it sounds like you have the right reasons to go after it, for sure. I mean, that's, and I don't think I could think of a better reason off the top of my head. But yeah, it does. It takes a lot, especially it's like moving a boulder.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort and a lot of strength to get it started. And then once you have that momentum going, it's a little easier to kind of just relax and start worrying about little things.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I was going to college full time. I had a full time job, and I did YouTube, and I worked out every day, and I dedicated 2 hours a day to learning Japanese. And I still made time for my wife and my friends and stuff. And that was the vast majority of my time on YouTube. I think in the last 4 or 5 years, I think in the last 4 years, it's been full-time income for me. But everything before that, I was working a job. I was going to school, because before I thought I would need a bachelor's degree in order to work a job here in Japan, which is still true. But now that I do YouTube, that's not necessary anymore. So it was a bit of a waste of time, but I had fun in school, so that's fine.
Right.
But yeah, you end up having to do the rest of your life too, and YouTube becomes this really cool hobby that you can't wait to get home and do when you get off of work. And every moment when you're at work, you're thinking, okay, here's what I'm going to write in my script. Here's an awesome way I'm going to word this or whatever. Yeah, and then that becomes your passion, and you want to devote that time and effort. It's not like in the sense of like, oh, I gotta get up and do cardio today. It's like, dude, hell yes, I get to go to the gym today. It's that kind of feeling. And then once you get that way with it to where like you want to do YouTube, not necessarily to succeed, but just to do
fun.
this,
Yeah,
that's when I find that people really find their success here on YouTube.
yeah, for sure. Like this morning, I was like, I'm so excited to do the interview with Jared and we talk about Avalanche reviews. And I was like, I hope I don't fuck up the time difference.
Yeah,
I was like,
that is a thing.
I
for
looked
sure,
at it
dude.
all weekend. I'm like, okay, hold on, time out. He said the next day it's for him, but it's still this time. I'm like, okay. And it was a whole like paradox
It's
that I
so
was
much
dealing
more
with.
confusing than people think it might be because I am 13
Yeah.
hours in the future
Yeah,
here where I
it's
am right
it's
now.
the 14th for you, and I'm like, hold on, wait,
It's
hold
the
on.
future.
When you on my calendar it says the 14th, but I was like, no, wait, it's the 14th for him, and I was like, oh my god, I can't deal with this.
Exactly.
And then my daughter's calling me, daddy, daddy, and I'm like, hold on, I can't think. But
Yeah.
it it's a beautiful thing making content, man, and like it's
It
just
is.
when I agree with you when you can't stop thinking about it, and you're at every scenario, you're like, what else can I produce, and how can I make this thing like a reality?
Mm,
It's just it shows that people are more creative than we think we are. You know, I've seen so many
for sure.
creators come up with things that I was like, oh my god, that's a amazing idea, and they're just going with it, and that's propelling their careers. So it's just like
Yeah.
it just all it takes an idea and a perfect timing. So I agree with you
Mm,
with that. I wanted to ask, so we're gonna take a little sidetrack on something different. Do you have
yeah.
any fears?
Yeah. I I think
That pause
the
scared me.
worst one. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Real bad. And I think it's the fear for me.
Okay.
There's not a lot of like phobias I have.
Okay.
I have real bad death anxiety.
That thing. Okay.
Real bad death anxiety. Like sometimes I'll be, laying in bed about to go to sleep. And you know how it is, like you know how sometimes you're about to go to sleep and then your mind goes, "Hey, remember that time in high school when you did something embarrassing and you
Yeah.
cringe?" I have that moment, but with the realization that I'm gonna die one day, and I get like a cold sweat in my body, and I get goosebumps, and I start to like panic, as
Hmm.
if it's gonna happen like really, really soon or something.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my big thing right there is death anxiety.
Um, do you mind if I ask a couple more questions about your fear?
Of course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if you don't feel
Absolutely.
comfortable answering any of it, like we can change the subject.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
before I ask the questions, I've had a couple instances of that. Um,
Mm,
when I'm laying in bed and I'm scared to go to sleep. You know, like I have so many
yeah.
people relying on me, and I'm just like, I would hate. I don't know what's next, and that scares me. And there's so many theories, and but nobody knows. So
Mm,
I definitely understand where you're coming from when it comes to that. But like, um, can I, if I can ask you, what about death scares you? Like, where did that fear always exist, or did it come? Like, is it a nuance? Like, what is it about
it's been
that?
around for a while. It's
Okay.
been like a long time. So this is going to sound weird, and a lot of people don't believe me, but the people who are close to me in my life, I've sort of confirmed it with. I can remember almost everything that's ever happened to me since I was like 4 years old.
Oh, that's
Like,
crazy.
I
You
could
got a
draw
memory of
you.
an elephant.
But here's the thing: I have no control over what stays and what goes. So
Gotcha.
this is going to sound crazy. This is a side thing in and of itself. I do not know my times tables, and I am not joking when I say this. I don't know the order of the months of the year. I have
Okay.
no idea. I know where my birthday is. I know December's at the end, and January's at the first. Everything in between. If you asked me right now, if it was October, I would say I have no fucking idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, no,
But
I don't think that's not a believable thing. Like, who am I
it's
to be like, yeah, that's full. You're full of shit. Like, no, like if that's truly what you
outside of
can
that
do.
though, yeah, I can remember conversations that my parents had around me when I was a baby,
Mm,
them being very anxious about making rent, and my mom like feeling sort of like this impending sense of like, what are we gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And her crying, and I was eating cereal, and I remember like her telling me to make sure that I eat it all because, we need to make sure that we're not leaving any food behind, that kind of
Oh
stuff.
wow.
Or
Yeah.
I remember throwing a temper tantrum as a 4 year old being pulled in a little wagon at somebody's birthday party. And I threw a temper tantrum, and I had a squirt gun in my hand that in my memory was like this big. It was huge, but it was probably like a little thing, and I was just a baby. But I smashed it on
Concrete.
the thing that they were pulling me on.
Oh.
And my mom goes, see, and now you broke it because you were throwing that tantrum. And I remember thinking, couldn't verbalize this, but I was like, no, I didn't. And then I looked at it, and it was broken. I remember that about as clear as I remember what happened to me yesterday. And I could draw you the floor plan of every house I've ever lived in before, but
Jeez.
it's weird. It's very strange. But that plays into, I remember having a conversation as a 8 year old. And at the time, this was after Hurricane. No, I wasn't 8. Maybe I was 10, somewhere in that neighborhood. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember numbers very well, but this was before Hurricane Andrew in Miami, and me and my parents and my brothers lived in the same house as my aunt and my uncle and my cousins, because we grew up really poor, and we kind of had to like double up on houses. But I remember going to my mom and my dad's room, which was a garage that we had retrofitted into a room, put insulation and stuff, and just like crying to my mom, like I don't want to die, because it struck me at that moment that people die.
Yeah.
And ever since that day, I've had a very similar approach to the whole death anxiety thing. It's just been like, I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, yeah, one day, lights out, man. And then I'll flip out, and I'll get like a sort of like getting a panic attack, but it
Yeah.
happens like that. I'll have that kind of reaction, which sucks, but you start to learn to, it's one of those things, you can't get rid of the fear. Like if you're afraid of spiders, and then maybe you hold one in your hand, or
Yeah.
you can sort of, but with this stuff I've found you can't necessarily get rid of it because it is a real thing.
And it can happen. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. It's not exactly an unreasonable fear in my mind, at least. So what you start to do is you start using that as fuel to achieve the things that you want, and to take the chances that you might desire to, which is why I'm covered in tattoos at the moment, because I'm terrified that I'm going to die. And most of that fear comes from the moments I'm going to be sitting on my deathbed. And I feel like on that deathbed, I probably won't sit back and think, thank God I was so conservative with all my decisions to make sure that I saved for the future. I'll probably be like, damn, I remember going on tour with my band and getting a tattoo for free from some guys in his basement or something.
Yeah. My understanding is like you live life to the fullest with no regrets, and you just make every
That's the
day
idea.
like it's like your last. And
Yeah. It
I
pushes me
reside with you.
forward for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a saying that my wife gets so tired of, because I injure myself constantly, because I'm a 40-year-old, so like I'm starting to get to that
You look
point where
nothing like 40, by the way. I thought I'm
I
30.
appreciate that.
So
Hell yes. Hell yeah, I
you
appreciate
look good
that.
for 40, man.
Well, it's because when it comes time to it, because I have a an ACL problem in my right knee, and then I have a hyperextended whatever the other muscle is in your knee
Mhm.
on the left knee. I have really bad knees, and it's just a genetic thing. It's not like I had lived like a crazy life or anything. But
It's the
when it comes
skateboarding.
time to do leg day, the skateboarding doesn't help for sure. But I had hurt my knees. I've always been athletic. I used
Yeah.
to do football, and then the off seasons I did wrestling.
Oh wow.
And some guy slammed me on the ground, and one of my legs was bent and the other one was straight, and the one that was straight ended up getting bent but the wrong way.
Oh boy.
So yeah, nasty stuff. But that's a thing that has kind of stayed with me forever.
Hmm.
But I have the saying about that, and about I have Osgood Schlatter disease, I believe it's called. It's a weird thing below my kneecap. It's hard to explain. It sucks, but it's not like life ending or crippling or anything.
Yeah.
But when that stuff starts acting up, I have this saying that my mind decides what my body does, and not vice versa. So at any point, if I feel like skating and I'm hurting, my mind has already made that decision. If I feel like, going to the gym and I have an injury, train something else. You know what I mean? Like have so I use the whole death anxiety thing. I want to be healthy. I want to feel good. I want to live long. I want to accomplish my goals. And I know that I'm never going to not have goals because once I've accomplished one,
There's
I
always
immediately
like
get started on the next one.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, like the death anxiety is a negative until you can find a way to turn it into a positive, and it motivates you and it pushes you forward and fuels you.
It's crazy because when you're saying all this stuff, it kind of like hits like a nerve and of just how similar our ideology is for that too. Because
Mm.
like for me, when I had my death anxiety moments, I want to say maybe it's not as severe or up to you where you are. I told myself life is like literally like a video game, and when the final chapter or the final boss is there, like I'm done. Like I beat it. I
Mm.
or like for me, another way is like when we go to sleep, it's like a nap. And what internal sleep when I finally go to sleep is when everything is I'm done.
Yeah.
And it doesn't scare me when I thinking about it like that. It's just like, okay, I got this limited amount of time, and I'm gonna make every moment
Mm.
the best moment.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And I
man.
told myself like I want to be better, a little bit better than I was the day before,
Yeah.
and accomplish something and just appreciate the little things because not a lot of people get to make it to 30 or 40, and
Yeah.
I think it's fair. Like I tell you, like some of my fears, because I appreciate you sharing that. For me, I have thalassophobia. I do not
Oh
like
yeah.
the
Yeah.
ocean.
I get that. I
I
get it.
don't
Hell
believe
yes, dude.
we belong on the land, and we shouldn't explore things that are not meant to be explored. Like I understand space,
Fair.
but even there, like it's always this curiosity that destroys civilizations, and so like
Mm.
there's a video of the anglerfish, the thing that was the little dangly thing that is
Yeah.
in Finding Nemo,
Right. Right.
was
Right.
swimming to the surface, and then my mind tells me, "Holy shit! Like what? The fuck scared it so bad that he had to swim
Yeah.
up." And there's two videos. We've had dinosaurs in the world and everything like that. Who's to say that they're not still there at the bottom of the ocean, succumb to pressure and they're like it's just too much for my morsel to withhold. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but my second fear, I would say, is kind of related to a little bit of death, but is the fear of being alone. Like
Mm.
I don't like playing. I don't play horror games unless I'm live. I do not touch it. They stay on the shelf. I
Interesting.
do not do it. I
Wow.
can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know why. Like
Wow.
I am not scared of a lot of things except those two things, and
Mm.
that kind of contributes to the fear. Just being
Mm.
alone playing these terrifying games, I just can't fathom it. And it
Damn.
just
That's
when
crazy.
I going and I don't like going places without just I like to go in groups. I go movies, to play. It doesn't matter wherever it is. I don't like doing things by myself. But
Mm.
slowly, like how you said, your mind tells your body what to do. I tell myself I don't need to rely on people to make it throughout the day. I can go to these places by my. It's just like little victories.
Yeah.
So
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, I appreciate you sharing something so vulnerable with my audience and your audience, and just that's not easy to talk about, and putting yourself on a internet is just vulnerable in a vulnerable state is quite
Yeah.
quite remarkable. So I just want to say thank you for sharing something so near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah.
So we are slowly running out of time. I wanted to do something quite a little fun. It's rapid fire,
Okay.
where I'm gonna just shoot as many questions. I have 20. and probably gonna do 10 of them. But before I tell you this, I had a whole list of questions written down. You know, I do like how you do your research for your script. I research every guest that I have, but every live I do, I ask the first question and I never look at any of the other questions.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's my gift. You know, I'm more spontaneous, but I just like having I feel like it's not authentic when I have to read off something, and when I have that 15 minutes, it's like I analyze how the conversation is gonna go, and I can just tell how authentic a human being you are, and I can tell we hit it off right off the bat. So I just really wanted to get to connect to you on a really personal level, and it's just fuck all that writing shit. Like I want to just connect with you, so I think it was just dope. But these are questions I'm not gonna remember, but so I had to write it down. All right, number 1, Silent Hill or Resident Evil?
Oh, okay. So Silent Hill for the story and the internal feelings, Resident Evil for the act of playing and beating the game.
Okay, but overall, I'm gonna make you say
so
one.
hard.
Yeah,
I think if we're going just off of amount of time played, I have to go Resident Evil.
Fair.
But again, if I wake up tomorrow, maybe that answer changes.
Okay, so when I hit you up on Discord, I'm gonna ask you.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Favorite horror game protagonist?
Heather Mason, Silent Hill 3.
Okay. Last game that generally scared you?
Generally scared me. That's tough. That's the thing is horror games don't scare me too much anymore.
So you're desensitized of horror games.
To a degree, yeah. To a degree, and part of playing horror games is chasing that initial high of being scared.
Yeah. Well, you put 100 fucking hours into making videos of one game. Like, how you can't be scared of it at that point?
You know, like that's the point. I can get creeped out, and I enjoy the feeling of falling face first into a game and really immersing myself in it and kind of pretending I'm there. And that can give me a sense of like foreboding, but it never gets to like, oh damn, I'm scared. But I think so I think Resident Evil 2 remake. I've been talking about that a lot for some reason. But when I played that game, it's an amazing game, and I really enjoyed the way that darkness was represented in it graphically, which allowed me to immerse myself more. But I think something about the RPD in Resident Evil 2 remake and the way that zombies acted and how they sort of played dead, and there was difficulty there, but the difficulty wasn't necessarily part of the horror for me. That was the last game that I can remember where I was really freaked out by it to the point where I was playing with a keyboard and mouse, and I had to stop every once in a while because I noticed my shoulders were up by my ears. I was like stressed out. So I think that was probably the last time that I got that sort of reaction that I can remember.
Perfect. This is not part of the rapid fire, but I'm gonna make it rapid fire. When you hear the word horror, what is your best definition without using anybody else's influence? Or like, what does horror mean to you?
Zombies.
Zombies. Okay. I respect
zombies. That's the first thing that ever scared. I never went out of my way to consume horror media like as a kid or as a young adult. You know, I would watch stuff like The Thing was great, and you know, like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched all this stuff, and you know what I mean, like all the requisite cultural zeitgeist stuff. But I was sitting on my couch late at night in Clarksville, Tennessee, in what was an old Civil War hospital that we lived in for like 3 years on a street with like 2 other houses. And Night of the Living Dead came on the TV. It wasn't the original. It was the Tom Savini remake.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it was just, you know how back in the day we didn't have, like DVR or on-demand programming. So you're just flipping through the channels till you see something. I came to a moment in the basement where Ben was fighting with, I forget his name, the bald guy, Cooper. Yeah, they're fighting with each other. And at that point, there's no horror going on, but something told me to stay on that channel. And then they flashed a zombie, and that was my introduction to like zombie media, and it scared me so bad that I was like a 12-year-old or 13-year-old, to the point where I was starting to want to be my own man kind of deal. And my brother was asleep on the couch, and I remember scooting a little further over to get close to my brother because I was genuinely scared. Ever since then, zombies, that's what does it to me. For me, horror is like zombies.
Honestly,
for some reason, I don't know.
I love zombies as much, but my tattoos are zombie parts, spelled Suavecito. So this is like teeth, the V, the intestines. Like I
Yes,
rock with
dude.
that.
Yeah.
Top three upcoming horror games that you're excited to play, and maybe do a retrospective on.
Top 3. Okay. Phase Zero.
Phase
Very
Zero.
good stuff.
Okay.
We already talked about Heartworm, which looks incredible. And God, this is tough. There's so much good stuff coming out right now, especially in survival horror. Damn, this is tough. This is really hard.
I'm
Echoes of the
surprised-
Living.
Echoes of the oh that okay. I'm surprised you haven't said like Resident Evil Requiem or Silent Hill F or Silent Hill Town or
Yeah,
Routine. Like this.
Yeah.
God
it's
Save
interesting.
Birmingham, Blight Survival,
Yeah,
Dying Light,
it's
The
weird.
Beast.
I've fallen out of AAA, and I never thought this would be the case because to me, indie games were always like, like Nintendo Wii, like downloads, just like a 10-minute Castlevania, The Adventure remake or something.
Yeah.
And when Tormented Souls came out, it showed
Phenomenal
me
game.
that great game.
Yeah.
It showed me that indie developers not only understood classic survival horror, but they were trying to bring it back. Ever since I have a series called RE Clones, and it's the wild world of RE Clones.
Yeah.
It's great. It gives me an opportunity to play all these games, and that's why when you're asking me top 3, I could give you top 20 easy.
Yeah, but it's funny that you mentioned top 3, but you didn't even say Tormented Souls 2. Like, what are you?
That's the thing. And I just
This is
played
why
it
it's
2
rapid
days
fire.
ago.
It's rapid fire. It's the first thing.
Yeah. No, and like, don't get me wrong. If you just said top 4, Tormented Souls 2 would be on the list. Just finished the demo. Super stoked on it because it's playing just like part 1, which is exactly what I was looking for.
You know what? I just had an idea of something that would be fun if you're down in the future. We should do a tier list of like all like 100 horror. Actually, there is already a list on one. I think that's that tier website of ranking games from S to F, and we can battle like see which ones we would think that what tier would it be. Would you be down for that?
Sure, yeah.
That's dope. I look forward to that. All right, let's get back to the list. Favorite horror movie of all time.
Gotta say, Night of the Living Dead remake.
I respect that. Mine is Dawn of the Dead, the remake.
I
Boss
get
fight.
that's killed. Oh, I cannot argue with you on that one. It's amazing.
Best intro of all time. I don't care what
Couldn't
anybody
agree
else.
more. Could not agree more.
Somebody,
Absolutely.
I had a guest two episodes again that said 28 weeks later had the best intro. I said, how can you forget Dawn of the Dead? It was a fucking masterpiece. I never
It's so good.
I watched that.
Everybody covers with the zombie outbreaks. They always start in medias res, like the original Dawn of the Dead, where it's just like, okay, the zombie outbreaks already happened, or they'll do like a time skip or whatever.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead gave us the first days, which I can't think of another movie that did it and did it that well ever.
I agree. Like when it felt like a normal day. And then everything went to shit in 10 minutes. I was like, what did I watch?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Sound design or visuals, what makes horror work better?
Oh, damn, that is
I know.
tough.
I got some good ones.
Yeah. I think you got to give it up to sound design, I think. Really good sound design can take a game that doesn't look very good and make it very... You know what? I just played through an indie game called Fragile Reflection, and it is like a throwback PS1 low poly looking game, and it doesn't look particularly good, but the sound design and atmosphere is so good it elevates it for me, so I think I got to go with sound design.
Okay. Boss fight or atmosphere?
Atmosphere, for sure.
Jump scares, leave them or love them?
You know, I'm okay with jump scares. They get the job done as long as it's like anything else. If you're focusing on it too much, not a good thing. But you throw one or two in a video game, nothing wrong with that.
If you could, if you could describe your personality through through a horror game, which one would it be?
Oh man,
That was off the top. I didn't write that shit down.
that's a good question. Maybe I might have to go with Silent Hill 3.
Okay, interesting.
Like, just insanely finding yourself through terrifying stuff. You know what I mean? That's it.
I had a guest saying Silent Hill 3. What the fuck? Maybe I have to play Silent Hill 3 again because y'all, it's crazy.
Incredible game. I love it so much.
Okay, this is a fun question. What one horror game you'd wipe your from memory to play fresh again?
Resident Evil 2.
I respect her.
Yeah.
Favorite horror game soundtrack? I think you might have mentioned it, but
Silent Hill 3. It's so good. It is so good. But damn. Yeah, I got to go with Silent Hill 3. When I'm writing a script, it's usually like Akira Yamaoka music, and it's like 75% SH3.
But would you rather? I got like three more. Would you rather face Pyramid Head or Nemesis?
I like the idea of Pyramid Head because it means something more psychological too, which would be a more interesting interaction, I think, than purely just getting torn apart by Nemesis.
Yeah, fair. If you were put in a horror game universe, which one would you least survive in, and which one would you most survive in? Yeah, okay.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
I find because I understand zombies. I can predict zombies. What's inside of my head? Oh god, no.
Even with like BOWs and like
I'm fine with it.
And I find that to be
such a cool
idea. It takes your own fear. Like I get that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. What's inside my head is none of my business, and the last thing I want is it getting out into the real world.
And that you only can see. Only you can see. That shit's scary. Survival horror or psychological horror.
Oh damn. That's it. I mean, I gotta go. So psychological horror, I find to be the most viscerally scary. But with survival horror, I see it more as like a gameplay genre. Okay. So if we're talking like for me to have a good time and to enjoy a video game, survival horror. But there are plenty of like psychological horror games that aren't very good video games, but are amazing like stories. So that's a tough one. I might have to take the cop out and say both of them. Honestly,
it's okay. I'll ask you tomorrow. I have a whole list.
yeah, exactly.
If you could name one horror game that nobody really talks about or has heard of that you could recommend people trying, which one is it? That's my last.
That is a good one. Okay, horror game that not enough people.
You're building up my ego. Like you said, I got some great ass questions. Hey.
Making me think. I like it. Damn. I think. Okay. So, damn, this is tough. Conscript. If we're spitballing here, Conscript.
I fuck with Conscript.
It's a long game. It's going to request a lot from you because it can be very difficult, and the better you play it, the harder it gets. But I will tell you that when I finished that game, my wife was not around for any of the gameplay outside of the last hour of it. And she was sitting right on this couch right here. She was on her phone. I was like, I'm about to beat the game if you want to watch the last portion of it. And it was so gut-wrenchingly powerful that as soon as the ending stopped, I turned to look at her like, whoa, and she had a tear in her eye. She was just present for the last hour of it. So I feel like and it didn't do as well as I think it probably should have. I think games like Crow Country and Tormented Souls probably got a little, and Signalis got a little more hype and popularity.
The wrong time. That was the issue because was playing Conscript and I enjoyed it, but then all those games came out, and being a content or like a live streamer, like you gotta stay with what's fresh. And the same thing I'm having trouble with is Death Stranding, which I think too is probably my game. It is my game of the year. But then all these things are coming out, and I'm just like, fuck, I gotta beat this game, but I gotta stay with the trends. sucks.
Yeah, I know that struggle, dude. Yep.
Um, but nah, I respect that. I respect that. I got two last questions off the rapid fire. One is
Mm.
if I met you in person, I'm like, oh shit, Jared. Um, I'm an upcoming YouTuber or content creator. What is the best advice that you can give me to start my career?
Um, Find something that you love and try to imagine yourself doing it for 15 years. Because if like knock on wood, you get that call from fate, that's what you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure whatever it is you're doing, you love it. You absolutely love it, because being forced to do something you don't like for money is what you're already doing right now. You know what I mean?
I get that. I get that. And my final question, while we're wrapping up on the end of the show, is there anything that you would like to tell your audience, my audience, or just anybody in general who's listening to it right now or in the future as a recording? The floor is basically
Uh,
yours.
Thank you for watching and listening to my videos. A lot of people will message me and they'll say that my videos help them get through hard times. And a part of me wants to go, well, that definitely wasn't me. Because, like the humble part of you does not want to say that that's the case. But then I think about it, and I have hard times that I got through, both physically and mentally, through just watching content creators.
Yeah.
I had COVID after climbing Mount Fuji, and it was like, I've had COVID before, wasn't a big deal. I had COVID this time, it almost murdered me. It was
Oh wow.
my larynx was so swollen that it was hard to breathe unless I was sitting up. So if I fell asleep with my head to the side, I would stop breathing. It was that bad.
Oh wow.
So I stayed up on this couch right here, and it affected me for about 3.5 weeks. And I did nothing but watch Sean Johnson's Japanese import PS1 videos,
Mm,
and played Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter on this TV right here for about a month straight, just
nice.
to stay awake and not die from asphyxiation. So I've done that too, and I can see where maybe something I've made has helped someone through a hard time, even though I may not have made it for that purpose necessarily. Uh, I can see that I've had that happen in my life, so I can understand the sentiment. And I want to say thank you to anybody who has watched my content or enjoyed it or supported it, or anyone who allows me to do what I do right now, which is sitting in a beautiful home in beautiful Tokyo, talking to people about horror, having a good time. This is priceless. And everybody who watches my content or likes it or comments on it or shares it or supports it on Patreon or YouTube members or whatever, all of them enable this. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can say is thank you.
I think that's beautifully said. I'm definitely one of the supporters for sure. Like you've helped me get through long days, and I'm so appreciative of it. And just like your insight of the games that I love, I there are facts that I didn't even know about certain games that you talked about in some of your videos, and I'm just like, your level of detail is definitely up on one of my favorite creators. So thank you so much for being a part of Whispers and just having a genuine conversation and giving people a behind the scenes of how your process is. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. My pleasure, dude.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 50.